Then finally, number 18 here, the analogy question, the parallel question. The relationship between strengthening current laws and relying on passwords is most analogous to the relationship between. So that is the crux of this whole passage. Should you strengthen the current laws now to make them more restrictive, or should you rely on hacks or tools like password protection? What is that analogous to in this passage, in the choices here? I'll give you a moment to look through the choices here, and then we can talk about it a bit. So allowing everyone use of a public facility is looking at A, allowing everyone to use a public facility versus restricting use to members only of the community. Well, they didn't really talk about a community in particular here. They said allowing free access versus a password protection to those who have the password. Now, I suppose the question then would be, is the community those who have the passwords? Maybe, but that seems a little bit shaky to me. I think there's probably something better out there. So maybe you could leave A as a contender and move on. B, outlawing the use of a drug and outlawing its sale. So using versus selling, nothing like that in the passage, no distinction there. I say B is definitely out. Looking at C, prohibiting a sport and relying on those participants to employ proper safety gear. So that's kind of like prohibiting distribution outright versus relying on participants, those who control distribution, to employ proper protections and safeguards like passwords. So I think C is actually a pretty good choice here. I'd leave it and still move on to D and E. Looking at D, passing a new law and enforcing the law. Enforcement never really comes up here. Putting up a password is not enforcing the law. That's enforcing how you want access to be made available. So for example, LSAT put the Juno 7 LSAT up on their website freely available. They could have chosen to block it with a password, but it was their choice what to do with it. That's not enforcing copyright law. The law allows LSAT to do whatever they want. So it's not about enforcing the law. It's about them employing proper safeties and protections, as C says, instead, via a password if they chose to. So C is looking pretty good. Once again, D is out. And then finally, E, as the last one, and I see someone did choose C, which is excellent, but you could also put things in the chat if you want everybody to be able to see it. It's easier for me to look at actually if you do that, but it's up to you, of course. Then finally, E, allowing unrestricted access to a building and entry to a building and restricting entry to those who have been issued a badge. This is really tempting. I think it's a very tempting contender here. But those who have issued a badge as a way of restricting access to a web document, I think it's not quite the same. I think the badge part is good, but actually, now that I think about it, what's wrong with E is allowing unrestricted access entry to a building. Because allowing unrestricted entry to a building, that is the opposite of strengthening the current copyright laws. We want to say allowing nobody entry to a building versus limiting it particularly to those who have been issued a badge. So E, the first half of E, is like the opposite of what we're looking for. We would rather them say blocking entry altogether for E in order to make that a good answer choice.